Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Stack Mastery. In this episode, we will start by creating a file controller to handle file uploads and downloads. After that, we will add a logging service to the controller and walk through how logging works in practice. So initially, let's start by creating a file controller here in the controllers folder. So I want to create a controller. It says empty. So, and I want to name this controller as a file controller. Okay, it should inherit from control base class. I will remove this. So this one. Okay, so here I want to create two endpoints. The first one is for getting a file, meaning a consumer can request to get a file from our server, and the next one is for uploading a file in our server. So let's create by the first one. So I want to make it public. I action resolve. I want to name it get file. There is no any parameter here, and it will be a HTTP get app. We are not delete HTTP get. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is, first of all, you should have a file to give it to user. So here now already we don't have any. So what I'm gonna do, I have a sample PDF file here. So I want to copy this file and bring it and put it in root of my project. So now you will see that the sample PDF is here. So here we need the place that the file has a store. So we need some a variable with the name file path, which will be equal to directory of the file. So because the file is already in the root of our folder, the only thing here we need to name is the name of the file. So it's sample.pdf. Okay, now we should check either this file is exist or not, and the file if is not exist, we can return not found, for instance, for user. So here we are sure that the file is or exists here, but in some cases we are not sure that the file already we have this file in our directory or not. So in those cases we should check actually. So we can check if system.io that file that exist, this one file path. So technically here we are saying if the file is not existed, just return simple not found. And after that, when we get sure that the file is already there, we can start by reading the file. So it's gonna be again in system.io.file from this file path, and after that we can return a file. We can return a file, and what we need to return here is the bytes of the file, then the content type of the file. So simply we can put this as text boolean, but we get back to this later, and path dot get file name. And here again we will give it file path. Okay, so let's also decorate this a controller with API controller attribute, also route attribute, use API controller. Okay, let's run our API to see we can see this endpoint or not, to check either it's working correctly or there is any issue here or not. So okay, sometime for the first time take a little time. Okay, now it's ready. Let's take it out. Okay, now we see in a file controller we have an endpoint. So if we try it out, execute, okay, now we see that we got a 200 status code and also the file which is here. So let's just download the file. So here, as you guys can see, there is no any content in the file. So what is the reason? If we get back to here and check the response that we got from our API, you can see that in the content type is equal to text backslash plain, but this is not a text backslash plain. The content of this file is a PDF, so this should be different. What should be here? So here, if we write application backslash PDF, the file will show correctly, but the application backslash PDF is only for PDF file. So if there be any another file, if there be an GP, I don't know, for instance, JPEG file, if there be any video file or anything, so with different formats, this should change. So, and it will be a little difficult to manage this manually. So for this reason, there is a service in ASP that we can use. So what we should do, we can go in the program.cs and first add builder dot services dot add singleton. So this service is file extension content provider. So initially we can add this to the dependency injection container, and then if we get back in our controller, we can have an instance of this. Let's just copy this one. Yep. Then we need to create a constructor and add this as a dependency in our constructor. Yeah, we can do it like this. So now through this service, we can actually find out the content type of the file. So how it is, it's also a really simple thing. So here we can write file dot try get content type. So in the first parameter, we should give the file path. Then we need an out where content type, and the value will store here, so we can use it here. Also here we can have a check to see either everything, the file, the content type also is correct or not. So now if we check this again, I believe that we should have a proper content type also in the response. Okay, let's try this another time. Okay, here we can see the content type now has changed to application backslash PDF. And if we download the file to see everything is okay, yes. Now we can see that the file has downloaded correctly. So now let's go to create another endpoint for uploading a file by user. So how it is work. So this one also is a really simple thing. So we need a public. So here I'm creating an asynchronous endpoint. And I will talk about asynchronous in our writing async endpoints later on. We get back to this and talk in detail about this, but now only accept this, that here we are doing this, and then we're returning action result. So here is for uploading a file, or maybe let's name it create file. So here in as a parameter, we need to accept I from file, and we get the file here. Okay, let's add the namespace also. And this endpoint is HTTP method. It's going to be HTTP post, because the user actually is sending in something for us. But here, when we are accepting a file from user, there are really important points that always we should consider. Always have some check about and do some checking, about the file that the user is sending. So let's start by this. Initially, we should get sure that the file already, has a length is not zero, mean the file is not an empty file. So we can check this if the file at length, for instance, if the file at length is equal to zero, mean the file is empty. Also, always we should have a maximum, size for the files that you accept. It. For instance, it's going to be 20 megabyte or anything depend on the project, depend on your server and the capacity that you have. So always big and always do this. Don't accept any file. So because in that case, some people can and some users can upload some. Always the users are not honest. Sometimes you are dealing with some malicious users can upload some really heavy files and make some problem with your for application. So always check this because it's really important actually. So file that length also I want to get show that is not bigger than 20 megabyte. And after that also I want to check the content of the file. Here I want to only accept PDF, not anything else. I don't want to accept an exe file. I don't want to accept any JavaScript file or anything else. Only PDF. And also this is important. So for instance, when you have a in your project, when you have an API, for instance, that you want to give it to users and user want to, for instance, upload some documents, always get sure that the extension of the file and the content of the file is correct and the user is not uploading something else, which can also make some problem for your application. So here through file dot content tag, I want to say if this one was not equal to application like slash PDF. So if these conditions has met, so simply I want to return and bad request, yeah. And here I want to say, for instance, the file is invalid. So after that, when we get sure the file is correct and the file is valid, we can start to process the file. So let's first make a path. And so here on a path dot a big one. Yes. Combine. So here I want to find the root directory dot get current directory. After that we can give the name of the file that we want to create. So here I want to name, for instance, uploaded file and underline also because users can upload many files here. So it's better maybe to add a unique string to the file. So here I want to only add GUID that new thread and then the extension of the file which is PDF. And after that we can start to storing this file. So let's create a stream, a file stream with that. So here also the file mode is that create. Okay, and then wait, file not copy to async. We copy the file now. Stream. Yep. And now we can return a simple okay and say that file has uploaded. Okay, now let's check this one too. Okay, If we refresh this, we should see these new endpoints to here. Okay, now users can upload a file for us. So let's upload this file again. Okay, we got the 200 okay status code, and in response body also we got this that the file has uploaded. So if we go also in our solution, we can see that here the file has uploaded actually correctly. So now we saw that how we can, return a file to user and how we can accept a file from user. So after that, now I want to go through iLogger service to actually see how we can log some information. So iLogger is a built-in service in ASP.NET Core and is automatically registering dependency injection container. So we don't need to register it manually to the DI container like other files and other services that we done here. And here, we have also some logging providers. So logging providers define where and how log messages are written, such as the console, debug output, or external system. ASP.NET Core adds some default providers automatically, but we can, configure or replace them if we need it. So if we open the app setting file, we can see here there is a logging section. So the logging section in appsetting.json file is used to configure log levels and provide specific settings. In simple terms, we can say that it defines how much information should be logged and how logging providers behave. But now we don't need to change anything in this file and keep everything as default. So now let's go to actually log something. Then we get back and do some customization here too. So in my category controller, I want to initially add this iLogger service here. So this is a generic class and we can pass this controller in it and has this iLogger, and then we should add this into our constructor for dependency injection. Now, for instance, here in this get by ID, if the users couldn't request for instance, a resource, and if we didn't find the resource here, we are returning a not found. So, but also rather than this, we can also return maybe a log something too. So let's go to log dot information. For instance, we can say the category with ID. You can say this ID, the user didn't find first, something like this way. Okay, we can also log some information here, for instance. So, and let's see the file is the message actually is getting logged or not. If we request something that is not already exists in our list. Let's refresh this again. So I want to request the ID that I'm sure that we don't have it. So we got the 400 not found. If we open the console, yes, we are seeing here the category with ID 78 didn't find. So now we saw that the information actually has logged correctly. But let's get back to talk about log levels. What are log levels? So here in appsetting.json, that file, we saw that the log levels by default has set to information. So log levels, are used to define how important a log message is, and they help us control how much information is written to the logs and prevent, unnecessary noise, especially in production environment. So, ASP.NET Core providers, it provides six log levels ordered from the least important to the most critical one. These levels are trace, debug, information, warning, error, and critical. And the important rule about these log levels is that when you configure a minimum log level, any log level below that one is ignored. For instance, here, uh, if the minimum log level is set to information, so in this case, then trace and debug logs will not be written, but information, warning, error, and critical, which are after the information and in the information itself, all of them get logged. So now let's get back to our category. So here, how we can log messages in different levels. So here, if we write log, for instance, we have information, or we can have log trace. So there is a function for each level. So log debug. So for instance, let's do a log trace, and we know that the minimum log level now here is on information, but we are logging something below the information. So already this message shouldn't be logged. Let's see it's getting logged or not to get sure about this functionality. Okay, let's try this another time. So here we can see that nothing has logged because the log level that I explained. Okay, so technically this is really important because sometime for instance, in production we don't need, let's say when you are debugging something, debugging an application, so you need to see some logs. For instance, when then there is an issue in your application and you are trying to find the issue, but sometimes in those messages, in those logs, there are some sensitive information, and you don't want to dispose those information to users. So for this reason, you can use these minimum levels. And in production, for instance, you can put them to prevent some unnecessary data, disposed to users. So yeah, for instance, as you guys can see here, we have an app setting.json. Also, we have app setting.development.json. So we can have another also app setting.production.json file here, and make separate the minimum log levels in the development mode and in the production mode. This is something that we can do. But here we are simply actually logging this information in a console. But if we need, for instance, to do this in a file, how it can be possible? So also this is possible. And here also we have used a default ASP.NET log provider, but there are also some other providers that have developed by the community of ASP.NET that we can use them here too. One of the most famous one is Serilog. So let's start by adding this package to our application to see also how it is possible. So if we go to this, manage NuGet packages. So here we should be search for Serilog. This is here. So we need to download serilog.asp.NET core first. So we need to install this package. Also, because we need to, and here we want to log in file, so we need to also add Serilog dot, I think, things.file. Yeah, I need this one too. Also, I want to keep the console too, so I want to have a console one too. Sync.console, Serilog.syncs.console. So let me install this one too. Okay, so for using this provider, as I said before, the default provider is already registered to dependency injection container, but not this one. So what we should do, initially we should go to the program.cs, and here we should start by configuring the, Serilog provider. So I want to name log dot, not this one, log from Serilog, log dot equal to logger configuration. So here we can say the minimum level dot, I want to put it on information again. Also, we can say, for instance, write to console. As I said, we want to also log on file, so we can say also that write to file, and here we should give the the address of the place that we want to store our logs. So I want to just in store in the direction, the root of my project logs. Then I want to make a name for the file. So for instance, it can be let's I think my laptop's charger is finishing. Let's connect my laptop to the charger and then I can. Okay, so here I want to name food site API the txt file. There is something else, a rolling interval. So rolling interval says that by which interval it make a new file for us. So for instance, I want two logs for each day be separate in a separated file. So I can pass these to this rolling by day. So what it do actually for us is that for every day it make a new file for us. And finally, we can just create like a. And after that, we need to write builder dot house dot use Serilog also here to register this Serilog as a, now the Serilog is a default provider. And when here we log something, so because the minimum now is in information, definitely log tray is not gonna log anything for us. So I want to change this to log information. And if we start the application now, you should see that the Serilog now is handling the logs for us. Mhm. Okay, let's request this another time. So we got the 404 again. Okay, now we can see these logs now has generated by Serilog. As you can see, the format has changed. And if we get back to our solution, we can see a new folder here. The logs folder also has created. And in the log folder, we have the food site API, the also the date of this today .txt. So technically it create a new file for each day and put all the logs for that specific day here. And here now we can see the logs. So in this case also we can log the uh, messages in a file. So, but we have also different options. We can use different providers also here. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If it was helpful for you guys, I would be happy if you guys subscribe the channel and follow us because I want to also go through other advanced concept too. In the next episode, I believe that we will start by talking about the entity framework core and how we can connect our API to database. Thank you guys. Have a good day and bye.